What is your Nando's order? Who has a bigger knob? Would you ever taxidermy your pet? Would you let your bird do OnlyFans if she gave you half the cash? Who's got better chat? What made you guys set up this podcast? What are your opinions on the gender pay gap? Are you both pro-life? Are rule changes in sport ruining the spectacle?
Right.
Next question.
Episode 11. Q&A. Q&A.
Sundays. Nice and steady there, Charles.
Yeah, man. Yeah, as promised, Q&A for episode 11.
It was meant to be episode 10.
I mean, do you want to just get straight into it with question uno?
We've been inundated with questions, guys. Don't know how we're even going to get through them all, to be honest. So thank you very much for all of your interest. Let's have a look. I've got a list of questions here. I'll start off with an easy one. What is your Nando's order?
Oh, fuck. What's it called? Boneless banquet? No, that's KFC, isn't it?
Boneless banquet is KFC, yes. So that's an awful answer.
No,
What's your Nando's
what's
order?
the platter? That's it. Boneless platter. So you get like the butterfly, the 4 thighs, and then the 2 large sides or 4 regular sides, depending on what you're feeling on the day. Normally I'm like a chips, mash, garlic bread.
So you get 4 boneless thighs, a butterfly chicken, and 4 sides.
Yeah.
And you eat all of that?
Yeah. Most of the time. What I normally do
Sorry,
you get, so if you get like a garlic bread side, then you make a burger out of the butterfly.
So resourceful.
Well, it's like a garlic bread burger. And then, normally I'm trying to be a little bit healthy and get corn of the cob as one of the
vegetables.
one of the 4 sides.
Like Randy Santel would say, healthy vegetables, diet soda. Cool.
Who's Randy Santel? Oh, they're geezing that.
Challenges.
Yeah.
Atlas.
Got it, but what's your Nando's order?
I used to get a half chicken, 2 sides, medium half chicken, garlic bread, peri chips. Now I'm quite keen on the wraps, so I'll get a double chicken wrap with cheese and then peri chips and garlic bread, and I usually get a halloumi starter. So basically, my meal will always be exactly the same. The only difference will be either a wrap or a half chicken. The sides are always peri chips and garlic bread, and always get a halloumi starter or side.
Fair enough. What, you get halloumi as a starter or?
Yeah, halloumi starter. Yeah.
Oh, I thought they just done it as like an extra side. I didn't know.
No, they do. When it's a side, you get like 3. When it's a starter, you get 5, I think.
Oh, fair.
It costs a bit more, obviously, but that's my Nando's
You're
order.
a big spender, in the world of chicken.
We're about to get crude. Who has a bigger knob?
Oh, well, I'm not incredibly average.
Yeah, but which one's the bigger average?
That's that, right.
We'll
just go off camera quickly.
And we're back. I can confirm that neither of us have a big enough one to actually be able to measure.
Yeah, millimetres don't go small enough on the tape measure.
Both pretty average.
Yeah, I mean, can't remember the last time we shagged, to be fair, so...
Probably before I met Ree, so... Would have been probably your last time, actually, the last time we shagged. Yeah. No, yeah, silly question, whoever that was. Shame on you.
I know.
What are your opinions on the gender pay gap?
It doesn't exist, does it? I'm pretty sure.
My answer was going to be it doesn't exist, but before, one of our 10 viewers gets offended, when I say that the gender pay gap doesn't exist, what I mean is if a man and a woman both start working at the same company at the same time today with the same qualifications, etc., there is no gender pay gap. That man will not be paid more than that woman. Say it's a fresh graduate. They've both just come out of uni at a similar level, similar subject. They're both starting the same job at the same company. They're not paid different. They'll be given the same opportunities moving forward. If there's room for promotion, if there's room for growth, they'll be given the same opportunities. There is not a gender pay gap that exists today. Where there is, I think, a gender pay gap is in companies where there's a board of directors that have old white men as their board of directors and like one woman. And there aren't, in a lot of companies, there are more like men in senior positions than women, for example, and that sort of thing. But that comes from a time where there were more men in work. So I think there was a gender pay gap back then, and like maybe our parents' age and older than that, there was a gender pay gap there that hasn't quite recovered for older people. And there are probably men doing the same job as women in companies that are slightly older that are getting paid more. The men are getting paid more than the women. I agree with that aspect of it. But to me, when you're talking about a gender pay gap, I'm talking about people now, our age, starting out in work. A woman, I don't think, is going to be treated any different to a man in terms of financial remuneration, promotion opportunities, pay rises, pay increases, etc. There's no different. Any company I've worked at, everyone starts on the same salary, regardless of it's man, woman, etc. You have the same opportunities to interview, to get promotions, to then get paid more. If it's written in your contract that when you get out of probation, you get a pay increase, men don't get paid more than women. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it exists now today, but I think it was obviously a massive issue in the past, which the older generation haven't recovered from. Yeah. That's my stand on it.
Even if there was a gender pay gap, which there isn't, like jobs should be reflective of your ability and like your qualifications. At the end of the day, if there's a man that's better than the job or there's a woman that's better than that job, they should get that job. It's
and
not
get paid more if they are. And I think though, you make a good point, but also I think when these people do these stats and polls and studies that prove that there is a gender pay gap at a certain company, they also don't really use logic. So they'll say this man and this woman, they're on the same level at a company, but he's getting paid more. But what they don't tell you is he's worked there for 10 years and she's worked there for 2. They may be both senior consultants. So on that basis, yeah, they're on the same level. But if someone's worked there for 10 years, they've had 10 years of pay increases on an annual basis, for example. She's only had 2. And they often, when they find studies on certain companies that there is a gender pay gap, it's often stuff like that. Like they look for ways to word the study to make it seem like there is one. But naturally, I don't care if you're on the same level. You could have both had 2 promotions. But if a geezer's been there for 10, 15 years and you've been there for 3, he's obviously going to be getting paid more than you. Yeah, you're on the same level. You may both be a senior consultant or a team leader or whatever it is. That person's obviously going to get paid more than you. So I think when people look into a gender pay gap, if you can show me that 2 people who have worked at a company for a similar amount of time, have a similar amount of experience, etc., if you can tell me there is a massive discrepancy in their pay between men and women, then sure, we've got a problem. Yeah. But I don't think you'll be able to find that in companies today. Maybe back in the day, by all means. In companies today, you won't be able to find that.
I do even think then though, like I could be wrong. I'm not saying, but it's people. There isn't actually a gap in the pay. There isn't like a man and a woman are getting paid different for the same job, being there at the same time, and that. It's just maybe in the past women weren't hired as often because if you look at like traditional roles, again, if one of the 10 viewers fucking gets offended by this, but if you was to look at traditional roles, more women would have stayed at home, more men would have gone to work. So if you looked at things on average, there probably was a pay gap because there was 10 times as many men in the workforce. So it looked like there was a pay gap when in fact there was, for every 10 men, there was 1 woman in the workforce.
It's done on average, so it's not as if men get paid more as a whole, because if
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. So if you look at it on average,
that's how it's done. It's done on average. It's saying that on average, women working and men working, women get paid less.
Maybe like if you look in specific companies.
But that's the point we're making is that they don't do that.
But a lot of these arguments don't tend to come. I mean, I've never heard of someone quote a specific company and be like, this company, here's proof of this company paying women less for the exact same role. It just always tends to be, oh, if you look at, there's more male CEOs, they get paid more, women CEOs get paid less. But it might be a CEO of a fucking company with 10 people versus a male CEO of a company with 1 million people.
Definitely seen studies on like similar, on like a certain industry or a certain company where there is pay gaps. But again, they don't look at why there's a pay gap. Like that geezer has more experience than that woman, so yeah, he's getting paid more. But they may be on the same level, etc. But all I'm saying is, if you can find a company where 2 people with the same level of experience, same job title,
same size company,
yeah, exactly. If you can show me a gap there, but you can't. That's my point. Is they don't look into it properly. They look into it like what we're saying, and it doesn't. I don't think it exists anymore. I agree, it was a problem back in the day, and you get companies that are still old-fashioned where, although the people at the bottom have equal opportunity now, most of the higher up are like white men because they've worked at the company for 30, 40 years and that's what it was like back then. And until those people like die and the new breed of people come in, then
they can retire, you know. They don't they don't just have to die.
Some people don't retire, some people stay forever, but
straight to death.
So that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think you're right. I don't think it does exist to the extent of what people make it out to be. What's the lady that she used to be chairman of West Ham was on The Apprentice?
Oh, what? One of Alan Sugar's side.
Yeah,
I can't remember her name.
yeah.
She's on it every year though, yeah.
But I can imagine if you was like, well, she gets paid this amount, and then the CEO of a company that's a man of like 100 people, he gets paid less. You'd be like, oh, fucking hell, where's the gender pay gap there?
Or if you looked at the chairman of Chelsea Football Club, who is a man, and said, why is he getting paid more than the chairman of West Ham, who's a woman? But it's because Chelsea earn more money.
Multi-billion.
There's always a caveat where they
miss that little bit out, don't they? Yeah,
for sure.
The cherry picking of the argument.
No, but I'm not going to get hate because I do believe that it was an issue at some times, and I do believe there may be old-fashioned companies where. But I think for people our age, there's equal opportunity.
That's the point I was kind of saying though, is that granted, I don't even know if there was a pay gap, like a woman would get paid less. It was just women maybe weren't given the opportunity to even get paid in the first place. I don't know, but you can't say, okay, a woman analyst and a man analyst doing the exact same job, both got hired at the exact same time. You can't be like, oh, you're a woman, you're going to get less.
That's what I mean. You cannot do that now. That is what happened. I don't doubt that's what happened in the past.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if did it actually happen in the past?
Oh, that would have happened in the past, 100%. Like even when women could work, if you were at like a law firm and there was an opportunity for promotion, let's say this is 50 years ago, are the women getting that promotion? Are they fuck? Like that is what the world was like. Like men would get it, and that is how, and that's what led to the pay gap. That is what led to it. But that obviously is not something that can happen now. And people who complain about the gender pay gap now, I just think, no, you aren't affected by it. Your mum and perhaps your grandmother would have been affected by it. But now that can't happen. Like there's equal opportunity in pretty much every company in the UK, especially as it's a first world country. But I agree that would have happened previously. But
I suppose then that's where, is it a different argument of equal opportunity versus equal pay? So does that make sense? It's like, if the opportunities, it's great, the opportunities are there now, but the opportunities obviously weren't there in the past. That's what I'm saying. Like, so you kind of going at, people want, it's the equal opportunities that needed, not, there isn't actually the argument of the gender pay gap doesn't exist. It's maybe the equal opportunities thing that women don't get paid on.
I think we disagree. I think back in the day, 100%, again, if you took any business 50 years ago, I do think that a woman and a man starting the same job at the same time, the woman will get paid less.
I don't think either of us know 100% in it, but
no, I think that's fairly well documented that women got paid less than men for the same role.
Fair. I don't know. Like I said, I've never seen anything on it.
Again, the point is now, don't think it exists.
Yeah. Next question.
What made you guys set up this podcast?
I don't have any other friends, and Bill said he'd come do it with me one week. Go on, Bill. I'll let you, because obviously I did ask you. So, what made you say yes?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously it was Charles' idea originally. I listen to podcasts loads. I really like podcasts. I'm a fan of a few of them.
Not this one.
No, not this one, but all the others. But I like podcasts, and I think Charles mentioned to me that this was before you'd even said, I'm going to do one. You just said, like it would be cool.
No, because I put it on my Instagram story, didn't I, saying, going to set up a podcast. And then you DM me saying, it'd be well, if let me know when you do. If you want, I'll come on for an episode.
Oh, yes. But I thought you'd told me about it before that anyway. You'd said you were thinking about it. And then you put it on your story. But you said to me, like, in person before, and I said, that'd be cool. You then put it on your story. And I said, I'll come on for the first episode. So I never really planned to actually do it with him. I just said, I'll come on for the first episode. He then asked me, come on for the first episode. And then after we finished the first episode, Charles said to me, do you want to just be co-host and do it together? So I said, sure. Because again, I like podcasts. I thought it'd be something that I'd enjoy doing, regardless of how many views we get. I just thought it'd be pretty cool to go on and just chat about what's going on, our opinions on different stuff. So I said yes. I don't know what Charles' motivations were. I think it was mainly finance related and wanting to be the next True Geordie and get money off YouTube, but I just did it for the pure passion.
That's a
I
lie.
I thought I'd enjoy it basically. So when he asked, I said, "Why not?" And I have. So
I was gonna do one. I was actually gonna make it a lot more like fitness related. And then when we done the first one, I was like, oh, that was quite a good conversations. And then obviously, I said, you want to do it together? And since then, we've just chatted absolute bollocks for 12 weeks now, because we missed 1 week of an episode, didn't we?
in the initial first few podcasts, though, we would discuss topics, and I would be like, oh, this, that, and the other stuff that's like hot topics in the news, or like stuff where there's room for debate. It might make a good watch. And Charles would just be like, yeah, I've got a really good fitness thing here. That
never happened. That never happened once.
Yes, it did. You said, you would say to me, oh, I've got, a few ideas on like fitness related stuff and this, that, and the other. And I was just sat there like smiling, but thinking, no.
Just because you don't want to do it. Just because you don't want to do it. But then you talk about shit that I'm like, well, I ain't got fucking any interest in that. But I still try and have a conversation about it.
Yeah, but the stuff that we're talking about, I feel like the stuff that we talk about all the time has a broad, like the Qatar episode, the Elon Musk thing, it has like a broad thing. If you did one just around, obviously doing some fitness videos, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Like that's cool. But I'm saying if you only did a podcast where you only spoke about fitness stuff, your pool of, I mean, not as if I was listening. The pool of listeners would be small.
You get a niche though. It's good. You need a niche. But actually, the one thing I did want to talk about, because we spoke about fitness stuff before, but it's sort of like motivation and stuff like that. The one thing I did want to talk about was just steroids, like just using steroids, and then obviously you got using steroids in sports and everything like that. So yeah, that was the one thing.
Seeing one thing that I would love to do more videos on, but Char knows nothing about, is sport. But like sport as in, we've spoken about sport, but like doing Premier League videos and like World Rugby videos and stuff like that. So maybe we'll have to meet in the middle, and Char can speak about fitness for half an hour, and then we can do a World Cup predictions or something.
That's the most random fucking episode ever. Maybe we'll create sub channels.
I'll leave and I'll take all of our 10 subscribers with me.
15.
Yeah, 15.
But that's why we started the podcast. Just, it's good to, it's actually, when like I get asked it, I just, by like anyone I talk to about, all the
people who stop you in the street.
But yeah, I think it's good to sit down and have a conversation when you're not getting pissed.
100%. Because I think we said this on an episode a couple of weeks back. Like certain stuff on this podcast you would never speak about that we speak about, whereas I probably would. Like when we're pissed, I would.
You're trying to just make me sound like a dumb fuck or something.
No, but you wouldn't. You've said before you've got no interest in politics at all. I do. So like down the pub, you would never want to speak about politics. This is somewhere that you actually speak about stuff that you wouldn't really usually look into. Whereas that sort of stuff that I would look into, and the same with some of your ideas involving fitness and motivation and stuff that we've spoken about, I wouldn't in my spare time read books or read stuff about that unless it was on this. Do you know what I mean? So I think it opens us both up to stuff that we probably wouldn't usually speak about at any time anyway. Like we speak about sales a lot and the mindset in sales, and you speak about work and stuff, and I would never speak to a PT in much detail about what they do, etc. And I doubt you'd speak to someone about what makes them tick in their job in sales, etc. So
there's a lot of crossover though, turns out, in it. I do think as well, like you said, it's shit. Once we start getting guests on and that, you're obviously going to try and get guests that interest you, but you end up speaking about shit that you'd be like, oh, do you know what? I never really thought about that in that way. And then you look into it a little bit further, goes a little bit deeper.
But yeah, that's it, because we enjoy it.
Bottom line, I was going to cut that whole thing out.
What whole thing?
That whole conversation, just then, why'd you do the podcast? And but because we enjoy it.
Now, this is a weird one. I don't know if you've ever really had a pet. Would you ever taxidermy your pet?
Yeah, you're not seen upstairs? A collection of it.
Have you ever really had a pet?
I had a goldfish. It wasn't actually
taxidermy.
It wasn't actually mine. I think my parents got it from like a fair or something. I don't know if that's actually, but I know they got it, and it was older than me until it died. Obviously, fucking, I won that one. But yeah, that's the only pet I've ever had. Goldfish called Wills. Probably not. A little bit weird, isn't it? A little bit weird. What about you?
I get why people do it. Because you love your pets, and obviously it's a bond that you have. Like, especially with, cats, for example, will live up to, some of them in their 20s, and you could have got them when you were a child, and you've like grown up with them. And I get why some people sort of feel like they want them around, but I probably would never do it. Like, the pets that we've lost over the years, we've always just had them cremated like a normal person, and you get a little pot of ashes and you sprinkle it in the garden or whatever, like you would with like an actual family member. And I think it's sad, but like, that's your way of your family saying goodbye, same as you would to like a family member. So I probably wouldn't as well, because it's also like, this is a bit deep, but like, I've had to obviously be there a couple of times to get our cats put down, because there's not been, like, my mum's been at work and stuff, and seeing them after they're put down, you get like a few minutes with them, and like yeah, same like you would for a person, like, you get to go in and say goodbye before the funeral, and obviously you want to be there when the animal gets put down, right? You can't just say, yeah, go and put them down in the back room. Like, you're there when they get put down, so when they then die, the nurses and stuff will leave, and you can just sort of stay in there for a few minutes, say goodbye and stuff. And I do that, like, I stay in for a few minutes, stroke them, sort of get a bit upset, obviously, say goodbye. But even looking at them in that lifeless state there, it's like upsetting. So I can't imagine then getting them taxidermied, having them somewhere in the house, and looking at them like lifeless. Do you know what I mean? Like, I find it quite a weird concept, that because people will have like a windowsill where they've got all of their cats and dogs and stuff taxidermied, and I just think you're looking at it, but that's not your pet. Like, it's lifeless. Your pet, when it was alive, would be like happy to see you, bark, meow, etc., want attention from you, and now it's just a fucking, basically a teddy bear that's just sat there. I think it's very strange personally, but I do get why some people are that way inclined, if they feel like a piece of them is there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I wouldn't. If someone had it in their house, I'd be a bit fucking like, don't really want to stick around here.
No, I think it's weird, but a lot of people do it. Like, one of the things I did, even with, one of the pets we got cremated, they sent like flower seeds with it. And no, so yeah, we put some of his ashes into a little pot, put the seeds in there, and then grew flowers out of it, and just stuff like that. That's nice.
That's sentimental, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sentimental, and you get some people who do this with like actual family members and friends that die with their ashes, and you get it put into like a ring or something like that. People do that with some of their pets, and I think fine. You sprinkle some of the ashes, keep some, and get them put into some sort of ornament. But the taxidermy, though, like, I just don't. Yeah, it's not for me. That. I don't think.
No, not for me.
I'm
not gonna get into it anytime soon.
But one of our 15 subscribers might be a taxidermy fan.
You're a fucking weirdo. Sort yourself out.
Yeah, I don't want to be. That's what I was about to say. I don't want to be too harsh, but actually, yeah, I do think it's fucking weird.
Stop listening to the podcast. We don't want you here.
Yeah, leave your poor animals alone as well. I think it's strange.
Yeah, lay them to rest.
I was trying to be like gentle. I think it's fucking weird.
Super weird.
Yeah, but
when you said about the ashes thing, I see a fucking meme the other day, and it it was like, would you punch your dad for $1 million? And someone just like throws a bunch of ashes up and punches him. Right, next question.
Yeah, no, taxidermy weird. This is worded in a fantastic way. What do you think of the recent increase in Albanian migrants crossing the channel? Let me just say, I don't think it's even Albanians. I mean, there may be some Albanians. It's not just Albanians, though. So
what, the ones that get over from France, where you saying about the other week when they all got...
Yeah, the illegal migrants, basically. It's not just Albanians, first of all. Let's put that in there. But what do I think of it? I don't know, you can answer first if you want.
Yeah, it's mad that they feel the need to do it. I think if you're in a position where you're that desperate to escape your country, you're willing to do like risk your life just to get somewhere else, then granted, I think it's one of those as well. There isn't enough proper channels for people to do it in safe haven. Is that the word? Or claim asylum and all things like that. Yeah, don't get me wrong. No, I don't think people should just then instantly be allowed in. But there should be more things to allow like proper channels. Like I said, it's so fucked up that someone's in that position where they feel the need to escape their own country, because a lot of it comes from like war-torn countries and all things like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The illegal side of things.
Not really. Like, my opinions are very straightforward. I think it's poor that it happens. I think it's not only dangerous for our country, but dangerous for the people actually making that crossing. I think the smugglers and the people who take their money need to be prosecuted like fuck. More effort needs to be put towards finding smugglers and arresting them, because how many of those boats fucking capsize? They're like dinghies in the middle of the ocean, and how many people die? I think it's poor. I don't think it should stand. The reason I don't think it should stand is, to me, they're not asylum seekers. You're not fleeing a war-torn country, you're fleeing France.
Yeah, but they come from countries and they make their way through to get to France.
The definition of an asylum seeker is someone fleeing a war-torn country. If you pass through Portugal, Spain, and then France, or you pass through like Croatia, depending on where you come from, Germany, to get to France, etc., you stop being an asylum seeker when you leave a war-torn country. They're not asylum seekers. What are you fleeing from in France? There's no war-torn stuff there. You're not fleeing from anything. Like, you know what happening in Ukraine at the moment? Where did the Ukrainians go? Into the bordering countries. Poland.
Some Ukrainians come here, though.
Legally. You can make an application, same as anyone can. You can make an application. Like, my mum's a teacher. She has kids at her school from war-torn countries who have made legal applications as a family to leave that war-torn country. They get flown over, etc. It should be made more accessible to people. I get that. But in my opinion, you have left, let's say they're coming from the Middle East, you've left a non-war-torn country, a war-torn country, and I don't doubt that fucking those countries are repulsive, of course you want to leave, but say you've crossed into Germany and then France, why didn't you stop in Germany and why didn't you stop in France? Why are you wanting to take that extra risk to get on a dinghy and drive out into the ocean to get to the UK? You're not in a war-torn country anymore. That's my thing. If Afghanistan was an island that was next to us and the dinghies were coming in from Afghanistan, for example, onto our shores, I would understand it. But you're no longer an asylum seeker. Even if you come from Africa, you're going into Portugal, into Spain, into France, to then come to the UK. That's not what an asylum seeker is. An asylum seeker is someone that flees a war-torn country. And as asylum goes, you then stop in the first non-war-torn country that you get into. Like with the Ukrainians, loads of them went to like Poland and stuff, their bordering countries, and they stopped there. And they are planning to go back to their country when it's no longer war-torn. That's what an asylum seeker is. I think a lot of the guys that are coming over from France, I wouldn't call them asylum seekers. To me, they are illegal immigrants. They're crossing into our country illegally after paying a lot of money to smugglers to get them there. That's an illegal immigrant to me.
No, so I know they are illegal immigrants, but because if you was seeking asylum, you wouldn't be making that channel. You wouldn't be making that trip over the thing. But I'm saying I just meant in the sense that if you feel the need to like seek asylum anywhere else, right, if it's legally or not, like out of your country, yeah, I think it's quite fucked up. Fair enough. Yeah, there might be other trips, but then it's where do they think they're most likely to get into? You don't know. If you try and see it from their point of view, they're like, where's going to be the best life for me outside of where I am? And if they all think that's England, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. And the people that take them, the smugglers and that, the people that take all their money or give them the opportunity to do that, yeah, they should be prosecuted. And it should be cut offs. And then rather than spending funding trying to fight that, you can spend funding trying to actually put these people in safe places. But that's not going to happen. So it's like, okay, what can you do to make it so these people don't feel the need to go through these channels straight away?
Sure. What you said there, though, is part of the problem, I think, where you said, if they're looking at where's going to be the best life for them. Yeah, again, that's not an asylum seeker. You don't open up a catalogue of countries and go, I like UK. You're fleeing, because a lot of them are actually, like, you're fleeing, ones that come from Middle East, for example, you are fleeing a war-torn country. So I do sympathise with that. Like, imagine the UK was war-torn and we felt like we had to leave. Like, I sympathise with that. It's horrible that happens. But when you pass into EU countries that are first world and have facilities for you, etc., that aren't that much better than the facilities you're going to get in the UK, I don't personally see the point of continuing through various other countries, paying a smuggler to take you across in a dinghy where you and your kids might die, just to get to the UK because you think the UK is better than France or better than Germany or better than Spain or whatever. I don't get it personally, and I think it needs to be cut out. But from like France's point of view, because they've got so many, they let them make the crossing into the UK, and they're probably hoping that they get there because they're thinking then it's the UK's problem and not ours. And I think something needs to be said to those countries as well. Like, you shouldn't just let them fucking walk like, once they're in your country as an EU country and like NATO, etc., you have then a responsibility to, like, same as when they arrive in the UK government can't say, oh, get back into the sea. You then have a responsibility. You have to look after them, give them shelter, food, etc. That's what they have to do. So I also think it's quite poor from those countries like France, etc., to just be like, yeah, go on, yeah, go over to the UK. Like, I think that's bad as well. But I do as well. I don't want to sound harsh about it. Like, I do sympathise with these people, but I'm very much of the opinion that you're not an asylum seeker, and you are committing a crime by coming over because you've passed however many non-war-torn countries. And there is applications that you can make. Like, obviously, we've spoken about before, some Middle Eastern countries have still been illegal to be gay. Like, gay people seek asylum in the UK and make like an application, etc., and then you can fly over it. And that's what I was saying about, like, my mum's school. There's families at her school in Dagenham that are that, like, one from Venezuela. Is Venezuela war torn? I don't know, that some sort of obscure country like that. Yeah, South America. And she's got loads of families from different areas that made that application, and basically their family got flown over. But yeah, I think what's happening at the moment is poor. And like, there was that whole thing about, I think we spoke about it, where old Priti Patel wanted to send illegal migrants to Rwanda because it's an up-and-coming nation and they wanted migrants to come in and work, etc. And there was uproar. And if you remember, I said, would there be uproar if she was saying, let's send them to the US or to Australia or to Canada? There's only uproar because people think that Africa's shit, when actually the government was saying they are screaming out for migrants at the moment to boost their economy and work in their country, etc. We're offering them a job, livelihood, etc. in that country, and they don't want it because they want to be in the UK. I wonder why.
Yeah, I suppose that just comes down to individual governments then, doesn't it? It's about how people are treated. Like you said, like I just said a minute ago, if they know they're going to get treated better somewhere else, it's like, well, yeah, if I know I'm going to get treated like shit in this place, why on earth would I bother going there? And if you're in that position where you're fleeing already, it's like, why not just take that extra risk? Because once you've left the country, because I don't know, but if you seek asylum somewhere else, you can't just go into that country, can you? I don't. There's so say you was like, I don't actually know how it is, but say you was in a country bordering Germany. Fucking hell, I'm shit at geography. I don't really know, and then your country went into war and you was like, shit, I need to leave. You can't just then hop into Germany tomorrow and be like, okay, I'm seeking asylum here. There must be more proper channels.
No, you can't, but that is what they do. The only thing that sets...
Then that's when they become an illegal immigrant no matter where they are. So it's like, do I not just...
No, because they don't. Because you can't just decide, I'm going to Germany. No. But once you're in Germany, you are an asylum seeker, providing Germany's the first country that you've been into. Okay, but where Germany and France and inland like Spain they're all linked. So you can walk from areas in the Middle East or drive or however they travel into those countries. Once you are then seeking asylum, they have a duty of care to open their borders to you if you are a neighbouring country. So like Poland, etc., they border Ukraine, and where all this shit's happening in Ukraine, Poland have a duty to let people in who are seeking asylum from the war-torn country with Russia fucking them up, right? That is what you have a duty to. Once they then, say a Ukrainian left Poland and then just kept walking or kept driving and tried to get into another country, that is when that country can say, you're not leaving a war-torn country, you're not an asylum seeker, you haven't come through the proper channels, etc. The only thing that sets the UK apart from those EU countries is we have the channel. if we were joined onto them, they would just be able to realistically walk through, because you can't patrol the whole of your border realistically, and that's how they get into France and Germany and Spain, etc. so easily, is because they can just go through. You can't patrol your entire border, so people obviously can get in. But to answer the question, I think it's poor. I think it's dangerous for the people making the trip. You're not fleeing a war-torn country. You're in France where you're safe. You're given accommodation. Yeah, it may not be the best accommodation in the world, but you're not going to get the best accommodation in the world either in the UK, because, I mean, have you seen some of the places they're stored, etc., in Dover and that? Like, it's not nice. Yeah, but it's better than the country you came from. But but that's my point. It's better than the country you came from. It's not better than France. That's my point. The country you fled from, yeah, sure, it's better than that. But you've come from somewhere like France or Germany where it's not better than that country. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's dangerous, and I think it does need to be cracked down on more. Because how many of the boats capsize? Like, people die all the time, and I just think, fuck it. If you have actually fled a war-torn country, you've made it to France, which is like fucking part of the EU, part of NATO, has a great economy, etc. You've made it to France, and you might die coming from France to the UK. What's the point if you've already made it to France? Like, is it worth dying over when you're already in a first world country that's non-war torn, that has a good economy, that's part of the EU? I personally don't.
Yeah, you don't know what goes through people's heads, do you? But then I don't think it's not the people, because the people are going where they think they're going to have the best life, regardless whether that's not in Germany or something. It's the powers that be, the governments, things like that need to make more of a stand on it, and be like, cool, like, great, you come to this country, you can't then go to that country, so on and so on. Where they're, like you just said, where maybe some countries are just like, fuck that, as soon as you've gone past you, not my problem anymore.
It could also be made more accessible to do it legally. Like, I don't know the rate at which we take, like, actual asylum seekers and legal migrants who are fleeing those areas. Obviously, you can't always make an application if your country is actually fucked. So maybe it needs to be made more accessible where people can follow the correct channels to get in. But you're never going to be able to take
every single person.
Any country, can't sustain to take, and that's why I think it happens illegally. But
next question.
Right, would you let your bird? I mean, you can't answer this. Yes, you do not have one.
Bill fucking relationship expert.
Would you let your bird do OnlyFans if she gave you half the cash?
Yeah, mate. I'll be taking the fucking pictures for her.
So first of all, angles. I don't let my bird do anything because like.
I thought he was going to say, what, because I fucking tell her what to do.
No. We're equal. I don't let her do shit.
So diplomatic. Is this because of your pay gap thing earlier?
I'm trying to make up for it. But no, I, of course, would not be happy for my missus doing OnlyFans and posting nudes and stuff for money. However, there are freaks out there who have, like, foot fetish, right? And I read this question and I thought, obviously, the first answer is just no, like, definitely not. But then I thought, if say there was an account that wanted you to post pictures of just feet or your hands or something that's completely non-sexual, and you were going to get paid for it, and it was going to help us get a house or something, then I wouldn't tell her do this. If she came to me and said, I'm going to set up a foot OnlyFans, I would probably say no at first, but then I'd think, how much are you going to get paid? Potentially. Help us get a mortgage, etc. But obviously, actual OnlyFans in terms of, like, posting videos and nudes and stuff, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, some people make, like, fucking pay off it, though, didn't they? Like, stupid amounts of money. It's weird, isn't it? I suppose if you're not in that sort of environment, but a lot of couples do it, don't they? Like, do you know when shit gets leaked all the time, and it's like it's just couples shagging. And it's like the boy and the girl were in on it.
Do you know who Paige Van Zandt is?
No.
Former UFC fighter. She fights in, like, bare knuckle boxing now. She posts, like, bikini pics and stuff on Instagram all the time, but she has an OnlyFans page where she posts, like, pussy pics and tit pics and shit. And but her boyfriend is an MMA fighter as well. Actually, I think they're married now. And he obviously has no problem with it because she must make very good money out of it. She posts him in them sometimes, not of him naked, but say they're doing, like, a nude photo shoot where there's something covering his fucking knob. Yeah, it's ding dong merrily on high. and he obviously doesn't care at all, and they must probably spend that money together and be like decent. But what I also find weird about OnlyFans is blokes, like, they respond to messages, and whether it's them or someone they hire from admin that responds to messages, you can like message the OnlyFans models, right? And they reply to men and like say, here's a pic, pay $20 and I'll send you a nude. And it's probably not them doing it, it's probably like their admin staff. But I think also the idea of your missus messaging other men who are asking for that also is strange to me, because that's basically cheating. Like,
yeah, I get it. I suppose it's weird. It's like, so it's kind of like girls are getting. It's a way of them making money of geezers that are gonna perv on them anyway. Yeah. Like, so let's be real. Most of these girls that are doing OnlyFans, their Instagrams, they don't leave much to the imagination. Most of their Instagram pics and that. Yeah, I think why not? Do you know what? If you want to get paid for it, I think the fragile thing about it is it just relies on them being good looking. Yeah. And it's like there's got to come a point where, no offense, like shit starts to get saggy as you get older. Things aren't quite sitting in the places that they used to, and that. And it's if that's all you ever rely on and you don't ever do anything with it.
Yeah, you've got to then invest the money.
Yeah, and it's maybe that's probably what a lot of these models, like OnlyFans models and that, don't do.
But you say, yeah, if you want to do it, fair play in it. But you're saying if you want to have an OnlyFans, fair play. The question is, would you let your missus do it? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. No fair play. People, I don't have anything against OnlyFans. Like the birds, you make loads of money. Fuck it, crack on. But like, you wouldn't. Would you
be happy if your missus is doing it?
I think the answer is no.
Nah, yeah, I would. You would be like, nah, I don't feel too comfortable with it. But then it's one of those. If she's, I suppose that's when you make that decision personally. It's like, look, I've not got a problem with you doing OnlyFans, but I personally don't want to be the boyfriend of someone that does it.
Because then it's like, that's your missus, and say you get married, have kids. There's random pervy men wanking over her pictures. And
no, it's like
paying her $10 for a nude.
The playground banter's got to be fucking. At least my mum doesn't have an OnlyFans.
Right.
Yeah, it's God knows. Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits to it. Like in one side, like I said, geezers are going to perv on these people anyway. They might as well get paid for it. But then, yeah, you look at the wider picture. Would you want it personally?
Certainly not. This one's directed towards you, actually, Char. Could Char please give me a few tips on how to pull women?
Wrong, Char. Wrong, Char. Numbers game. Just fucking message as many as possible, as often as possible. Some point there's going to be yes. Bit like sales. You got to get very used to getting told no all the time.
And do you think that, just messaging, like, does that seem to work for you?
I just don't do that, to be fair. So,
so how can you give that advice?
I do think it is, especially if you look at like online dating. There is so much choice. Like, I got my phone, I could just swipe. You can go on your phone, but I mean, like, the shit you could just swipe for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. You say you get like, I don't know, 30 matches in a week. Then, realistically, if you was to go out, like, day to day, you're not going to go meet 30 different women, men in a week, are you? Yeah, so I think it's especially online dating, it definitely is like a numbers game because of the volume of it. So yeah, just
hope you've taken that advice on board.
Get used to getting told no, lads.
Who's got better chat?
Bill's obviously got to say himself here because he's got a missus.
Char would probably say himself, but I don't know if Char actually remembers what his chat is even like because it's been that long. Yeah. So I think it would have to be me.
Yeah, we'll agree. It's Bill. Bill's got the best chat.
Thank you. It's not that great though, just to clarify. Maybe better than Charles, but it's not. That's not hard.
0 times 0 is still 0, isn't
it? This is are you both pro-life?
In terms of, like, the abortion thing?
Yeah, so I mean, if someone asks you, are you pro-life? I would say I'm pro-life because I'm pro people being alive. But I think, yeah, pro-life is directed towards that anti-abortion movement being pro-life. So I'm not that. I think my stand on it is, like, I agree abortion should be there as the thing. I don't, like, they're anti-abortion, right? Abortion should obviously be a thing, like, and I don't, where I sort of sit on it is, if you have like some crackhead who doesn't use protection and gets pregnant 6 times a year and continuously gets abortions, I think, A, the kids are probably better off without those type of parents anyway, but B, I think the clinic should be like, right, you can't do this. You can't just have sex without protection and get 6 abortions a year. Do you know what I mean? I think that should probably be like, that's a no. But pro-life don't think abortion is allowed, right? Like, I don't really get that. Like, if it's not even just, people give the examples of, oh, but what if someone was raped? They should be allowed an abortion. I wouldn't even go just that extreme. Like, yes, if someone's raped, they should be able to get an abortion. Yes, if someone's underage, they should be able to get an abortion. But it doesn't need to be that extreme either. If you get pregnant by mistake and you feel like mentally, financially, etc., you're not in the position to have a child, abortion should be an option. There are rules on abortion of like what term the baby can be in to get aborted, and I agree with that, because of course you can't go in when you're 6 months pregnant and be like, abort the baby, because it's already got. So I agree with that. But I don't necessarily think there has to be an extreme reason for abortion either. I think, like I say, if you are just not, it was a mistake, you aren't in the right headspace, you're not financially viable, don't think that you can give the baby a good life, you're not ready for it, whatever, then I agree that abortion should be there, as well as in those extreme cases, like if you're underage or if you're raped, of course. But I do think there is also you shouldn't be able to just take the piss either, and like a crackhead who doesn't use fucking and gets pregnant several times a year or whatever, you can't just keep getting abortions for the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? You have to at some point be like, right, you can fucking get introduced to a condom. Like, do you know what I mean? So that's sort of where I stand on it.
Yeah. I suppose one, but then like you just said, if you got someone in that situation that is doing it and is like abusing the system for it, but still, what quality of life is that kid going to have? The abortion, I know that pro-life thing, I think it's just a bunch of fucking backwards retards that make those sort of rules. I don't even, what's the law called? Something V's.
They've banned recently, actually, that's probably why it was asked. In some states in America, abortion is now banned again.
Yeah, no, that was that whole law thing.
I don't know what it's called, but that's disgraceful.
Yeah,
like, because that's not even just. Even if this pro-life state, you fucking weirdos, do they not see that, like, if someone is raped? Again, I didn't say that you should only get it in extreme, but are they saying that, like, someone's raped underage by a fucking incestuous family member, that 14-year-old girl cannot get an abortion in that state? Because, like, that is fucked.
Yeah, I could be wrong on this, but I know Texas is one of them, and I think a lot of the states that have done it, they're like heavily Christian states. It's that fucking backwardsness of like the religious cults that it's your fault, no matter what, it's your fault, and you can't, because as soon as it's conceived, it is a life, and it's wrong to take life. Fucking, you look back in the past, what they used to stone fucking people and all shit like that. It's mad though, innit? But like, a little bit of a different subject, and we'll go back to the abortion thing, but it's like, you'll get Christians and say, oh, it's wrong to kill a baby, like, abortion should be allowed, but they will still think fucking like gay people should die. Or they will say, look, anyone else from an opposing religion is like the fucking belongs in hell and shit like that. But someone gets raped or is about to bring a baby into like the worst possible upbringing ever, that's fucking wrong. And that is the thing, like, you don't need to be bringing kids into a shit upbringing. You want to be able to provide your kids with the best possible life you can. And if you can't, regardless of whether or not it was an accident or someone just wasn't like being safe, it was like a boyfriend and girlfriend, they're too young or they're not in a financial position, yes, they should have that opportunity. And it should be up to the girl at the end of the day. They're the one that's got to do it. No, the men shouldn't really have a say in it. Like, do you know, there's that also, that argument, isn't there? Like, it's if the man wants it, should the woman still be allowed to do it?
I don't really agree that a man has no say at all. I don't really like that argument. I think, yes, the ultimate decision...
It's a discussion. It's definitely...
The ultimate decision remains with the woman, because it's her that's going to have to carry the baby. I get that. But, like, it should never, I don't think, ever be a case where the woman just says, well, it's my body, I'm doing this. There should be a conversation where if the man thinks that they are financially viable or would like to keep the baby, you've got to have a conversation about it. And, yes, the ultimate decision does remain with the woman. But I think a conversation does need to be there if you're a couple.
Oh yeah, that's. I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying there isn't. I can imagine anyone in that position does have the discussion, but it does ultimately. It comes down to whatever the woman wants, doesn't it?
Woman's final say. But like you say, it is often this pro-life shit. It is religion that's behind it, and I just think the only thing I don't get any of their arguments. I won't pretend to, but when they say about like, oh, that baby didn't ask to be conceived, and you're killing it because you regret it or whatever, and I get it if the baby's over a certain term and it has organs and like fucking hands and stuff, but that's not the main thing of their argument is that you just shouldn't be able to do it, and I don't get it at all, like, and they do say the thing about like what you said earlier about impurity and blah blah blah, you shouldn't have got pregnant in the first place, but you can't. I say you can't, but you can because several states have done it. I don't get how I actually don't understand how that in 2022 has been voted back in, because it's also going to lead to dangerous stuff happening, because some young women may get abortions illegally that might go wrong and they might get damaged inside, etc., because you'll be able to pay certain people in Texas to help you abort your baby, I'd imagine.
You are allowed to leave. You are allowed to leave state, aren't you? You're allowed to go do it somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, it depends on that clinic, because that clinic might ask for your address and then say you can't come here and do it.
I do think a lot of the states that haven't done it, I could be wrong. That's it. I don't know too much about it. Roe v. Wade, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But the states that are like, do you know what? Fucking off the top of my head, I can maybe like California's one or something. It's like, look, if your state has banned this. If your state's banned this, come here, no questions asked, get it done. Although, I don't know if it's been reversed now, but I'm pretty sure there was a thing. It's like, if you go to another state and get it done, it's still legal, and you try and come back here and we find out, which is fucked. Like, you can actually get prison time.
I know. It's really bad that, really, like, I feel sorry for the people who actually live in that state around this issue. Like, I think that is very fucking poor. And the pro-lifers that you see like protesting outside abortion clinics,
just fucking retards.
A lot of women,
a few brain cells short in there. Those people.
A lot of women / young women there. Some of them will be making like one of the hardest decisions of their life, and you're getting shouted abuse at walking into an abortion clinic. Say you're a teenager, even by these fucking Bible bashing weird cunts, going in to make like one of the hardest decisions of your life. Like I think it's poor. And it is the religious aspect of it that pisses me off as well, because I just think, fuck off. Like, what did King Herod do to all the fucking babies in your Bible? Like, it's just bad.
It's mad as well. A lot of it, you see a lot of these protests and that, maybe this is just the way the media portrays it, but it seems to be women doing it to other women.
Yeah.
And it's like, surely you can picture or just imagine thinking like, fuck, if I was in that situation of I got raped or I was going to bring a baby into a broken home, like couldn't afford to bring it up or anything. Surely you've got to then think, yeah, I get it. It's mad that it just seems that it's not coming from men trying to be like, no, you can't fucking do this, so I get to control. It almost seems, again, this might be the way the media portrays it, but it almost seems to come from like purely women calling out other women on it. Yeah, it's fucked. But all these people that do all of this, they'll be the first people to say that when you give a baby a shit upbringing because you were forced to have it, they'll be like, what the fuck are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, it's always, yeah.
They just need to shut the fuck up, I think. But just shut up, Texas.
I'm just going to edit out that whole conversation. Just shut the fuck up.
Right, next question. Are rule changes in sport ruining the spectacle, e.g. red cards for high shots in rugby?
Rule changes? Or?
Rule changes. So, I'll answer first. I agree. I think it is. It's not really football, but in like rugby, I think the rule changes, they are making the game softer and softer over the years. And I get that's to like protect the player, but some of the rules I think are bollocks. Like you can get red cards for really doing not a lot nowadays. If that player ducks into your tackle and your shoulder hits their face, that's not necessarily your fault. You might have been getting low already, and you can get reds for it. I do think it's making the game a lot softer, and it's cutting out some of the big hits that you used to see. And I do think it's ruining the spectacle a bit. But I also do understand that a lot of the rule changes are, trying to protect players from concussions and trying to protect their bodies, etc. I do get that aspect of it, but I do think it's gone too far the other way.
Yeah, no, definitely. I get like the no, like head collisions and that, yeah, cool, stop the game or whatever. But yeah, it's the discipline that comes with it. Like you said, the amount of times you see it nowadays, someone ducks into a tackle. And it's sometimes it's almost like the people just do it because they know they're going to get something out of it. Or, yeah, it's an accident. It's even to the extent, like, I've seen it a couple international games, like, competing for a high ball. You got no fucking control over your body when you're both jumping up. There's a slight collision and someone that...
They catch the ball.
Yeah.
And you get penalised if they...
Yeah, and I've seen... I don't know if I've seen any red cards. I've seen quite a few yellows from it, though.
Loads of red cards. That happens loads. Like, players get sent off for that. Like, if they catch the ball and you end up knocking them and they land, like, on their neck, that's a red card. And you actually were in a position where it could be that you could have caught the ball over them. It's like 50-50, but you've not caught the ball. You've knocked them in the air and you can get carded for it. I think that sort of thing's bollocks. Like, at the weekend, Springboks were playing Ireland and Colby got sent off for a yellow, which... probably did deserve, but in the same passage of play, you know Peter Steph-Toit, one of our second row / back rows, he's like 6'6", etc. He literally tackles someone, and you could see it on the replay. He is on his knees when he tackles them because he basically runs down, they get low, and as he tackles them, he's got one knee on the floor and his other leg up because he's trying that hard to get low so that he doesn't hurt, because of course he's 6'6", the guy's a lot shorter than him. It was like a centre back. He literally had his knees on the floor to make the tackle to ensure that he didn't hit the guy high. And that is not necessary. That geezer should not be ducking that low. Peter Steph-Toit should be able to duck and tackle him. That geezer shouldn't be ducking low enough that him ducking is still going to hit his neck. That's then not his fault, in my opinion. And he literally ended up on his knees to end up making the tackle. If he had been on his feet, ducking, he'd have hit this guy's neck because the geezer was proper ducking into him. And I think it has gone too far the other way.
Don't know. Obviously, like the other sports are a little bit softer. I suppose you look at football, rugby mainly, didn't you? I don't know too much about fucking like American like basketball and all shit like that. Mind you, saying that, the American football... this happened years and years ago, didn't it? But there's a lot of things about head collisions in those now because so many people got concussed.
They went nuts because they kept getting the concussions and playing and getting concussions and playing,
It's even in football, like, I don't watch it a hell of a lot, but I remember watching it when I was younger compared to watching it now. That's even a lot softer. But yeah, with rugby, it seems to fucking happen every single year as well. There's another, like, limitation brought on it. You can't do this. Even to the point, like, wouldn't surprise me in a few years if it was like there's one head injury or something like that, they'll go to like uncontested scrums or something like during the game.
Yeah, it's annoying me, to be honest, and it won't really ease up. It annoys me a lot in football as well because if a player goes down now holding their head, the ref stops the game because potential head injury. In rugby, when a player goes down holding their head or is knocked out, they are actually knocked out, so the ref should stop the game. It does my head in football because you know what football players are like, just throwing themselves on the floor. They lay there
taught to dive,
until they get the other team get a yellow card and then they'll get up. It does my head in football, like when I'm watching Chelsea, because the ref stops the game, and it infuriates me that they've stopped the game because in 1 minute time, that player is going to stand up and just be fine. They're not actually hurt. So it fucks me off in football. At least in rugby, when a rugby player's down, you're thinking like he's actually probably hurt. But yeah, no, I think it's gone too far in my opinion, but it's still very good to watch. In terms of the question was, is it ruining the spectacle? I still love watching rugby, but it is certainly making it...
There's a lot of things, but it just comes a bit more frustrating. Saying that though, but I think the major thing where it needs to be reffed is grassroots, because that's a lot more data. You get people that don't know how to tackle, don't know how to run in, like they'll run into contact too soft and shit like that. But the quality of reffing can be fucking awful. Mate, on Saturday, I went to slide for the ball, yeah? This geezer just ran along, his knee straight into the side of my head. Fucking my head like flung to the side. I got up, I was alright, but the ref just literally done nothing.
You're odd.
Yeah, but obviously double hard, innit?
Yeah, the refs, they're not going to know. And refs in the pro game have TMO and shit. They're just looking at you like... Next question. How did you two meet?
Just locked eyes from across the room, didn't we?
Yeah, we actually met in a club at uni. Char sort of danced over towards me.
The classic.
Bent me over and started just slapping me up the arse.
You don't just walk over to a bird in a nightclub.
No, Char, we were actually in a club at uni. Char came up to me and said, you know James Pringle. We had a mutual friend and he was like, you know James Pringle? And I was like, yes. He said, I went to college with him, and I was just like, nice. Spoke for a few minutes. A couple of weeks later, Char came up to me again and said, "You know James Pringle," and we had the same conversation, and that happened a few times, to be fair. Before we then just started chatting. Our group, he had a few friends. I had a few mates that became friends together, and yeah, friendship blossomed. But at uni, because I don't even think we'd played rugby together, but like I don't think we'd really spoken.
I don't think we was mates since first year.
No, we weren't first year because that's when
not at the start. Not at the start of first year.
No, not at the start yet. But like we'd played rugby together, so we'd speak there and say like you're right to each other, but we didn't really speak that much until you came up to me about.
We'd probably actually played against each other at some point, innit? When you was playing at Brentwood.
Yeah, we probably did.
Back in the day, cross paths. It was fate, innit?
Yeah, but yeah, and then the best friendship in the world blossomed.
That's it. Not been able to get rid of him since. I actually had about 10 guests lined up for the first few podcasts, and Bill just didn't leave.
That's not true at all. Char actually would never have done this if it wasn't for me. Anyway, next question. What do you think will happen at the next election? We'll keep this short because I don't want to debate too much politics again. But
we spoke about this last week. What the next general election? Fuck knows. They're probably going to get Rishi Sunak's probably going to get voted out, or he'll probably resign before then. That seems to be the going trend at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think this is the only time in the last sort of 10 to 15 years where I've thought that Labour will probably win. I think they will win. The country will be in a worse state with them running it though, and I don't think they'll stay in for long. I think they'll probably stay in for that term and then lose again. But the Conservatives have fucked too many people off and done too much bad shit, in my opinion, at the moment, to stay in. I do think Labour will probably win. It won't be a landslide. I think because of all the shit that the Conservative has done, people are thinking it will probably be a landslide the other way. I don't actually think it will, because I think most people who are of adult age still remember how terribly the country was run under them before, and they've not really changed that much. But I think, yeah, to answer the question, I think Labour win. Even if it ends up being a coalition, I think they'll win. I don't think they'll do a great deal well for the country, and I think they'll stay in for a term.
No one seems to have to do a great deal well for the country. Do that at the moment.
Shit either way. I think at the moment it's just about voting for who you think is going to be less shit than who you think is actually going to do something good. Yeah, that's what we think will happen. Next question. What do you think? Who do you think will win the next Rugby and Football World Cup? Again, I'll keep it short because I think we can talk about that for ages. I think next Rugby World Cup, I would love to say the mighty Springboks. I think probably France.
2 on the bounce, do you reckon?
I wouldn't be surprised. I do think that in rugby at the moment there is a handful of teams. I think being Ireland, France, New Zealand, South Africa, that if they played against each other all 5-10 times, you couldn't predict who was going to win. Like, I think all of those going into playing each other, whether it's home or away, I think are very much 50-50 at the moment. But I think France will win the next Rugby World Cup because they are one of the better teams at the moment. I think they're ranked number 1 in the world anyway. But they're also at home. So you're going to have that at home. You're going to be going into the tournament probably as number 1 or number 2 in the world. And you're going to be at home because France are hosting it. So all your games, you've got that home advantage. So I do think that if they come up against an Ireland or a New Zealand or a South Africa at home in like a quarter, semi-final, final, I think it will be probably tough to beat them.
Yeah, I suppose if they keep up this run of form, but France traditionally have a couple of good years, don't they, and then fall off. There's like, if you look at like South Africa, New Zealand, I suppose them, Australia, maybe not so much in recent years. Like in the past, they've always been a better team. You'd back them to beat most teams, sort of thing.
But yeah, the Northern Hemisphere teams, all of them usually have good years and then fall off. And South Africa in my lifetime have had like a couple of years under Coetzee where we were bad, but as a whole we've always been sort of up there. New Zealand have always been up there pretty much, but yeah, I think France football. I think Brazil are looking. I think a lot of people think Brazil are going to win. I'd love England to win, but I don't think that will happen.
When was it? What World Cup was it? When they got slapped by Germany like 7-0. a 7-1. They everyone was saying, oh, they look fucking sick that year, and they got absolutely slapped in the.
Though, and I think because they were hosting it as well, people like you want that story, and they won all their group games. They beat like Colombia, I think in the quarters or last 16 or something. They looked good, but yeah, they got fucking smoked.
Yeah,
but Germany won it that year too, so
it's not as bad getting slapped by the winners, is it?
But yeah, I think Brazil are looking good. I think France have such a good squad, so I think they'd have been up there as well. But they've also got a few midfield injuries, so I would probably go
England
at the moment. At the moment, I think I would go Brazil, but I also think there are weaknesses. I think people are overrating the Brazil squad. I don't know if you've seen it the last few days. Everyone's been posting the squad like fucking wow. I don't think it's that good compared to some of the other top squads, but I think it might pip it. It's a very good team.
Yeah. I suppose, yeah, not to sound too cliche and all that in it, but it's like big tournaments. Shit teams can do well because as soon as it gets to knockout stages, it's like you obviously got teams that you back to win more, but fucking random teams make it quite far in like big tournaments. That's I think when as soon as you start getting to like knockout like any sport, it does become anyone's game on the day. Like as much as there's a lot more opportunity to score in rugby, it still happens all the time. Like when Japan beat South Africa in that.
Don't remember that. We came third at that World Cup though, so that was when we
blocked out that memory.
We came third though, so there is a couple more questions here, but we haven't got that much more time left, I'd say. So do you have anything you wanted to?
We covered that one, the why we started the World Cup. Why we started the World Cup?
I don't think that was our idea.
Why we started the podcast. I don't think we've actually covered this that much. The other question we've covered it about uni and that, but about like when do you think it's too old to go do the shit you want to do, like go traveling or take up fucking new hobbies or whatever? Like, do you ever think there's a point where it's like, you're too old now, or you could even flip it and be like, you're too young to be doing that sort of shit. You need to put some grafting or whatever first.
I don't think you're ever too old to do anything like travel, etc. Although I have a weird take on that actually, is that if you're going to travel, I think you do it when you first leave school or first leave uni. In that next year or so, you bum around the world, or you do it when you've got a mortgage and are financially secure. So that could be any time. What I would probably think is a bit silly is, say you work for a few years and then stop your career after 2-3 years and take a year out to travel. I wouldn't think that's a great idea, because you then lose out a year on work. You have to come back and start again. But I don't think you're ever too old to do it. Like, me and Ree haven't got to travel. We go on holidays, etc. But we've spoken about before, when we're a bit older, say once we've got our mortgage, etc., maybe taking 6 months. Hopefully we'll have been at our companies for long enough for them to grant us like a 6-month sabbatical or something, and actually going and traveling. I don't think there's ever an age, whether you're 30, 40, 50, or even fucking retired, where you shouldn't do something like go traveling. I don't think that, because no matter what age you are, I think it's always going to be an experience. You're always going to see so many cool cultures, so many different things that you've never seen before. It's not just something you can do while you're young. I know young travellers will go around and get drunk and maybe go clubbing as well and stuff and do slightly different things, but I don't think there's ever a cap on when you can do these things. I think whenever you feel like you're ready to do it, because some people don't want to go when they're 18, you know. They might feel a bit more confident to do it when they're a bit older or something, but I don't think there's to start a new hobby, even to start a new career. I don't think you're ever too old or too young to do those things. It's just about what's right for an individual, in my opinion.
There's no age cap on it, is there? I do think, like, everyone says, it's timing, and that's where I'd think timing's never going to be right. And if you're putting it off because, I don't know, you got a mortgage, or you're like, I need to build a career, or you're like, do you know what, I'll retire in a couple of years or whatever, guaranteed at that point there'll be another excuse to be like, I'm not going to do, I've got something else to do now. But yeah, I don't think there's never too old or never too young, but yeah, I think fuck it. So I know my sister's boyfriend, he was working for a good few years, and then just thought, fuck it, quit. Went travelling for a few months. I think he come back and then actually went back out again. One of my mates, my barber, one of his mates' dads, I think they No, they didn't even go through a divorce. He's just like, it's something he always wanted to do. And I think they were like talking about having kids. And I think this was like a long time ago. I think the geezer was like 30 or something. And he was like, fuck it, I just need to go. He was like, fucked off for 6 months. Come back, had kids, had a great life. So I mean, like,
lived happy ever after with Shrek and Fiona.
Yeah, like, stars never align and that, do they? Timing's never going to be there. So fucking do it when you want. Do it when you want to do it.
Yeah, I think whatever's right for you, whatever's right for an individual or a couple that want to do it together, type thing. So, yeah.
What a happy note to finish on for once. I feel like there's a lot of positivity sprinkled in today. More than most, anyway.
With that though, I've been wanting to do a Q&A for a while. I think it's just cool to get questions from people and go through that rather than us thinking about what sort of topics to speak about. Because some questions as well, you can then actually speak about for quite a while. Like some of them that are still even on there. If we ever do something like this again, there's still like 3 or 4 questions on here which are actually quite good. But I just thought time-wise, we can't go through those now. But yeah, I enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Cheers to episode 11 Q&A.